So I'm going to move on to Dr. Ekman. From the slime mold back to the humans. Dr. Ekman, your work really embodies my conundrum. I mean, you showed that in every culture, a smile means you're happy, a grimace means you're constipated. I don't remember all that. But the universality of facial expressions suggests something automatic about human experience. So I understand why the smile instinct would evolve. But the private experience of warmth and goodwill that goes along with it seems evolutionarily superfluous. So how do these automatic reactions give rise to my subjective experience?
I'll get eventually to answering your question. But I'm provoked by both of you say. And as I was listening, I started making notes of things that seemed to me to be relevant. One of them is in one of my recent conversations with the Dalai Lama, he said to me, if you could prove when the brain is dead, there is no mind, I would not be a Buddhist. Now, that's an idea that really, of course I can't prove it, but I certainly don't think there's anything that we would call a mind or consciousness when you burn the brain. I was recently paging through more of Darwin, my really favorite author, and amazingly enough, in 1871, he says all the important human decisions are made without our awareness or consciousness. They're automatic. Now that idea came into psychology just in the last 15 years, that recognition. And still, I mean, you get a Nobel Prize for saying that economic decisions are not made rationally. That seems so revolutionary. The book with the Dalai Lama is called Emotional Awareness because it is in the nature of emotion that we're usually not aware of either the impulse to become emotional or the fact that when we're behaving, we are actually behaving in an emotional way until someone says, what's wrong? What are you upset about? And then consciousness usually comes into emotion. It's not that we're unconscious, we're not sleepwalking, but there's no part of ourselves that is observing ourselves and saying, gee, I'm getting a little annoyed or I'm getting a little worried. Is there a justification? And if there is, how do I want to enact that? That takes consciousness. Consciousness of the fact that you're in an emotional episode. Nature doesn't give it to you. In fact, I believe there's a lot of reason to argue that what nature provides are many obstacles to achieving emotional awareness. So it takes a lot of continual work, like to be a concert pianist, takes daily practice, emotional awareness. I only have 2 more points, but I think they get to your thing. Whether animals, I think, for many, many years, it's really only in the last decade that people are not afraid of being called anthropomorphic for saying that animals can have thoughts, that they have feelings, that they are aware, they make choice. It isn't simply reflex. What we really don't know is, can they do what humans do, which is to reflect and think about what just happened or what happened yesterday. If you don't have a simple system, can you deal with past experience or anticipate future in a reflective fashion? Now you could argue that part of consciousness often gets us into a lot of trouble, but it is a very human characteristic. Last issue, since I am interested in distinguishing lying from other forms of deception, the critical issue in my definition is it's a conscious choice to mislead. If I give you false information, if I tell you about a wonderful investment opportunity and you lose money, but I didn't think it was a bad investment opportunity, I've given you false information, but I haven't bought it. If I know and I'm deliberately trying to mislead you, psychology has tried to avoid, for most of its history, the issue of intent. It's hard to think of a psychology of the mind that ignores intent. And by this point, I've forgotten your question. So
well, now I have another one. I think Alva Noe has a response. I heard you say to the Dalai Lama, it is the very nature of our emotions to keep consciousness out. Which immediately made me think, what is the part that's being kept out?
The moment, one Buddhist writer talked about the watcher, a part of ourself. I am, at this moment, allowing part of my consciousness to be devoted to monitoring what I am saying to you. That's why I'm speaking so slowly, because I'm considering my words as I say them. And I rarely do that. I only do that when someone asks me a question that I've never been asked before, and I'm not certain, and the answer doesn't pop into my mind. Usually get carried away. So what is left out is what in psychology is called self-monitoring. That is to be aware of the impulse to be emotional. The Buddhists call it the spark before the flame. We call it impulse before the action. And as I engage in emotion or behavior, as my voice gets an edge to it, as I say, and why in the world did you ask me that question? That I'm aware of the fact that I'm getting a little upset. And that I think it's justified to be upset. Given the look that's on your face, it's justified for me to be upset. So that's emotions are evolved as an emergency system to deal with the saber-toothed tiger that would jump out. What did you do? The current saber-toothed tiger is that car on the freeway that comes at you. We wouldn't be able to drive automobiles at the speeds we do if hominids hadn't grown up in environments where large predators without notice attacked us. Those are the ones that attack most of us. They're not other humans. They're humans indeed.
I think Alva Noe might have a response that we're going to ask Dr. Schlitz.
I don't want to postpone Marilyn's getting into this, but I just wanted to go back to the way you posed your sort of follow-up question when you turned to Paul, your initial question to Paul. Or I can't remember which one of us you were directing it to. You said, but what about, we understand why the smile and the recognition of smiling would be important, but what about the inner private sensation? And I just want to call your attention to the, if you stop and think about it, utterly non-obvious character of the way you frame that question. That is, you assume that the real stuff that interests us is this totally hidden, mysterious, ethereal, private, unknowable, unshareable thing. But the fact is, although we all know about deception and concealing one's thoughts or not knowing one's own thoughts or not expressing an emotion, but think of the immediacy of your recognition of the annoyance on another person's face when you're talking to them, or of your spouse, or of your child, or of your employer, or of a person in the audience even. I can tell when somebody's mind is wandering by looking. That should be our starting point. Instead, we have this kind of romantic, individualistic idea that all any of us really knows is the private contents of our own mind, and that's the thing which seems utterly detachable from behavior. But in fact, I think your puzzle of consciousness is an artifact of your insistence on a certain kind of inner-outer separation, which you don't need to start with. We can start with each other. Start with our being here all together. Start with our mutual comprehension of each other, and work backwards. But we're not all alien and trapped inside a cave. That's my view. The sort of main theme of my book is that we're actually already at home and with each other.
Speak for yourself.